characters are dumb, but it really doesn't matter, so deal with it. I'm Jim Price, and this is my preview of the final Disney faction, the Lion King. Lion King factions focus on the progression from play to the discard, with cards that gain benefits when going to the discard pile like Samurai, except that they are good. Going into my first experiences with the Disney set, I was told by a few people that Lion King was the strongest new faction, so they had a lot of hype. There's also been a lot of sticker shock as cards were revealed, and players noticed their strong abilities without actually playing it. But where do I stand? You'll have to wait and find out. The Lion King leader is Mufasa, who has 6 power and the ability to provide power counters to your other minions in play, specifically up to 4 counters. Up to 4 is incredibly important because with no movement and primarily local abilities, I don't associate the Lion King faction with spreading out. So in my experience, it either tends to be a voluntary or involuntary 0 unless you have the chance to place 4, but you have to be careful because Mufasa usually breaks on your turn, and that's a ton of power to be giving away for someone else to exploit. The best way to facilitate this is with Circle of Life, to create the next minion you will use, because you can possibly get away with 7, and can scale down the number to your comfort level. Of course, you could always kill Mufasa yourself, but I can't think of any reason why the game would want you to kill a 6-powered leader, because that would be silly. But if you did insist on killing Mufasa, Scar would be the best way to do it probably, to draw 6 cards. You'd lose a net 2 power, but could potentially get that back between Simba and a few other cards. The reason why you'd want to do this is because many of the Lion King cards derive benefits from Mufasa being in the discard. As a pivot play, this wouldn't be the worst option, but again, Lion King doesn't have movement, and they tend to have upgrade-style plays. Honestly, focusing on Mufasa has not been the best way to play this faction in my experience. Mufasa will eventually come, but focusing elsewhere has been better, and you have to be careful not to burn through your key cards too quickly. To figure out Lion King, it helps to look bottom up as opposed to top down. The Lion Cub Recruit is a deferred chance to get a minion of power 4 or less from your deck. This creates a lot of consistency for Lion King, as it makes gaining upper tier minions inevitable. Unlike comparable minions who trade their lives for others, Lion Cub lets you keep the minion in play, only providing the benefit when it is no longer needed. For example, Wildebeest Stampede can turn a Lion Cub into Mufasa, and it can be played anywhere, so this is how the faction pivots. If you can play that with your action, Lion Cub can grab Nala, which you can play with your minion. This is an easy 12-power pivot play using 2 of your most common cards, and it lets you use Mufasa somewhat naturally instead of trying to rush him to the discard. Once Mufasa goes to the discard, Simba becomes the new de facto leader. He is 4 power, so he gets all the benefits of searching with Lion Cub, especially since Simba can shuffle himself back into the deck. If you can manage your discard pile, Simba is basically a 6-power Sleeping Beauty. Other cards that grow stronger include Hyena's Den, which can stay in play as long as Mufasa remains dead, the Hyenas, which can become a cantrip, and a few others. But not every card in the discard pile has to stay there. Lion King has 3 primary methods of discard reclamation. Timon and Pumbaa can put cards back on the bottom of your deck, like a Time Raider, but for this faction, I really like that ability. Rafiki can recur your Lion Cubs or other recruits, and Lion Cubs can search for Nala, who is recurred by Timon and Pumbaa. There is also Circle of Life, which can recur powerful 3s from the discard, but can also play cards from your hand early game. One of the Lion King plays that I like is to use Hyena's Den to make a Lion Cub a 4, play Scar to destroy it for 4 cards, knowing that you can get Nala, and when it's time to play Nala, she'll be a 6. Regarding Circle of Life and other cards, I think Lion King introduces a new take, or at least a new clarified take, on the timing of going to the discard pile, but if I cover it, it will be in a separate video in a few weeks. There's too much to go over here, starting with the fact that Lion King seems to have a collection of objectively powerful cards, even relative to Disney. Both of their elites have easy access to being a 6. For Simba, he adds recursion onto it, with it being contextually relevant, and is really strong as a result. There are a lot of 3s who can become 5, but Zazu does it effortlessly and has the option to draw a card. While Zazu cannot make itself a 5, that isn't really necessary, because what are the odds that it would be meaningful as your only minion? Timon and Pumbaa is a Time Raider with a slightly better bonus and much more internal synergy, and more importantly, no anti-synergy. With all the shuffling this faction has, you'll see those cards again, and it will keep Mufasa in the discard, which can be important. Rafiki finally managed to get its ability into the game. This is an ability that the Great Talent Killer has killed in the past, specifically recurring recruits. But I guess 4 talents that make all sense to double wasn't good enough for the Great Talent Killer. Wildebeest Stampede loses the destruction loophole, but makes up for it by being a much better transmogrify in that it is not capped by power. Even some fairly stock actions are stronger. Your standard draw 2 cards is better with Hakuna Matata, getting bidirectional synergy. The Hyenas can be a cantrip. Scar is extremely strong for destruction card in that it can hit up to 5, making it the highest flat destruction action that is still power capped. And it ores into a sacrifice too, at least one without the destruction loophole. Lion King somewhat feels like an all-star deck, like they tried to cram as many micro bonuses into this faction as possible to make it as consistent as possible, and boy is it consistent. Yet it has a losing record in my games. Now there are any number of reasons for that, and I don't really read too much into it. This faction is objectively strong. It feels like they took shapeshifters, whom I love, and removed a lot of the weaknesses. They have card draw, recursion, searching, extra plays, destruction. It's quite the powerful package. It's certainly possible that some of the hype ruined their stats, as I tried to put them in games with bad factions to see if they could elevate them, but bad factions bring them down. Like Tricksters. Can they make Tricksters work? No, no one can make Tricksters work. But it's easy to see the potential here. Whenever you have deck searching, there are a lot of partners to consider, and a lot I can cover. However, we have to talk about Samurai because I am convinced that there is a match here, even if the results don't show it yet. There is a lot about this faction that is yokai attack friendly. You can get easy access to Bushi with a lot of ways to power them up. You have strong card draw on both sides. While Wildebeest Stampede isn't great to play on Mufasa, yokai attack is. Samurai give Lion King some actions that can act as finishers. Samurai gets some decent destruction in the meantime, and Mufasa is a great dueling minion because of its normally high power for honorable combat. The results haven't been there yet, but I know they will come with time, and if not, it means I was right about the Samurai being lame. For the remaining combos, as usual, I will focus on some unexpected ones. Steampunk Lion King was really strong because you can guarantee access to the mechanic, who also gets a second rotary slug thrower. Steampunks give Lion King the movement they need, with Rafiki recurring Captain Ahabs. If you can get a base that exploits 2 power plays, it really helps them play quickly. Zazu in particular can make use of the movement, as you can stage him on a Zeppelin base and get extra power from minions played there. Steampunks already have a strong game plan, they just need to be able to do it, and Lion King lets them. When you look at Lion King, you can see that they favor factions with strong 3s and 4s, which Desco definitely meets. Keeping divas continually in play to keep their benefits can be really strong, but I also want to point out the easy access to Dancing King with the card draw, and if necessary, Wildebeest Stampede. From there, I would point out that Lion King has 4 destruction cards that Dancing King can copy. It sets up a very interesting come at me play, because Lion King can do something most factions cannot. Plays 4 power counters on the same minion with the standard action, and in this case, just can't wait till dad dies. With a diva or 2, this is potentially 12 power, but it's permanent unlike dinosaurs. This means that your opponents will have to yield first on their turn or risk the solo, given that Lion King has very realistic destruction threats. Because of Circle of Life, you don't have to waste a diva copy on I Will Survive, and it can focus on gaining power from Just Can't Wait Till Dad Dies. This combo may be deceiving due to the lack of overall standard actions, but again, what it does is let you hit Disco's upside, which is incredible, and Disco Lou gives them great burst potential. Plus, the rollers are great for being played, then immediately trampled for something else. For my final pairing, I want to point out that Circle of Life can play cards from your hand, not just from your discard pile. There's also timing to consider, because Circle of Life can precede Mufasa, and this is one of my favorite plays in recent memory. What you need is a base where you have He Lives in You, preferably empty. When the Circle of Life minion goes to your discard, play a groupie from your hand, playing all 5 onto that base. When Mufasa goes to the discard pile, each groupie will be 4 power for a total of 20. Then you get power counters from Mufasa for an additional 4 power, and 24 power will break most bases. This is a great double score on your turn, or even better on their turn if you feel comfortable. Add in direct access to Classic Rocker, additional ways of getting groupies, enhanced groupie recursion with Rafiki, and this combo can trade faction bursts left and right. You can use Stampede on a Lion Cub to grab Monarch, with Lion Cub gaining a groupie, then Monarch starts drawing groupies as well. It's like playing superheroes, except Sonus won't complain that they are bad. When you take my favorite faction, give them even more consistency, and give them the capability for an easy 16 power drop, with the potential for more with setup, it's really hard to lose. So what does that leave Lion King for me? I think I like them, but they are too consistent. But they also lose a lot, so I'm not sure what to believe yet. I'm sure it will even out over time, as there are a lot of combos that I could talk about but haven't, and they'll end up on the strong side. If you have strong 3s and 4s, this is the combo for you, and I have a long list of things I want to try but haven't. Hopefully you see their appeal and have a chance to try them for yourselves. What do you think of Lion King? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.